Okay, before I went into loneliness as an experience, I first had to understand, of course, how loneliness came up, right? For me, it came up from this intense fear of being misunderstood. I felt deeply isolated and alone, and at the time, I wasn't conscious about it. I think I intentionally blurred out a lot of the experience I had as a child because I couldn't understand a lot of things. My parents were telling me they loved me, but I was feeling pain and I couldn't navigate those experiences. I couldn't navigate why I was doing what they said I needed to do to receive love, but there are times I had received punishment and shame even when I didn't do anything, you know, wrong. Like when I didn't fall out of defined expectations, and it just brought up that cycle of, oh, so I can never really do good, and that thing threw me down a rabbit hole, and I just couldn't understand why it was that I was isolating myself a lot. Like, why I didn't feel, I want to say safe, but I don't know if safe is the word. Why I didn't feel the urge, the need to come out and be seen and just like have, friends and family know me. Like I always used to think to myself as a child, and I don't know if this is extreme, but I used to always think to myself, like, why is it that people always knew everybody else in my family but me? Like, I was that child that was the last to be known in my family. You see, this auntie will come and be like, "Oh, so this is the child," and like everybody else is familiar with her, and I'm like, "Wait, where was I? Where have I been? Haven't I been around?" And so I think there was a bleep of sorts, but I just didn't understand. I couldn't put words to it. I couldn't see the truth of that experience, so it wasn't made known to me that that was happening, and that was what I was experiencing at the time. A feeling of, like, I realize now that it was the feeling of loneliness, right? I just felt so alone, and I didn't understand why, and that feeling was what made me seclude myself, right? So I was going through my childhood experiences. This is the journey that we take, and aside, reliving experiences of my parents doing things that could make me feel alone. I was just, all of them were coming to me. Not all of them, but a few were coming, like how they would command me to do things with fear, and they would guilt trip me or shame me. How my father would intentionally misunderstand me just to not make himself feel like he was unreasonable or make him look like he didn't know what he was saying. So he didn't feel like he was dumb or stupid, right? So he had to always try to misunderstand and twist what I say, try to find loopholes so that I always end up looking wrong and unreasonable. And I think it just came from that very weird dynamic of parent and child where the parent is supposed to know and the child doesn't know anything. And so that just also really pushed that feeling from me. So as I was trying to understand what I experienced in my childhood, I remembered that, I've been doing this healing journey for a while now. We've gone through a lot, you know, re- reclaiming our truth, reclaiming ourselves, our experiences, and healing. And we've come through a lot to understand that it's not someone else's actions that would guide us to healing. It is our actions and taking accountability for it, right? So I started asking myself, what was I doing, that made me feel so lonely?